All right, welcome to my first ever live stream, and let's see how this goes. Okay, so just wait a little bit more to check if anyone wants to join. And I have a message on YouTube right now that the bitrate is a bit low, so I hope the quality is enough for you guys. I just try to increase this a little bit to be easier for you to see. This looks good enough. And let's just wait for 1 or 2 minutes. And I said the stream would start at 6:10, so let's just wait a couple of minutes more. So if anyone is viewing, you can just drop me a message on the chat. That way I can test the chat. And while we wait, I already sent my wife and kids to go for a walk outside, so I'm trying my best for the quality of the stream to be as good as possible under the conditions that I have and the zero experience that I also have about streaming live. Just 2 or 3 minutes more before we start. I can start saying what I'll try to do. So we'll do a classic to-do list. I will call it a shopping list just to be different. We'll be using Gatsby as the framework. We'll be using Netlify to host and build and run our serverless functions. And we will use Fauna as our database as a service, which is ready for GraphQL, which is what we'll be using to query the database. Let's see if we can build all of this in about 1 hour. So I think I only have 1 viewer, but I will start in check Okay, I'll give it 2 more minutes and then I'll start. Okay, so the first feeling that I have while streaming is it's kind of awkward when I stay silent, but I'm not, like, I'm still waiting for people to join to start, and then this is an awkward silence right now. Okay, here you can see it says excellent connection. However, sometimes it drops a bit. And I know I shouldn't be watching the stream while doing it, so I will leave that tab even. Okay, enough is enough, so let's get started. We'll start completely from scratch. So let me just create a blank directory and let's call it, I don't know, shopping list. Sounds like a good enough name. Okay, so let's move inside the directory, and now let's init the project to have a package.json, and I'll be using the -y flag, so creates everything with the defaults from npm on package.json, and this should be enough. So right now we already have a package.json, and from here on I can work just on my IDE. So I'll be using WebStorm. Okay, it opened on a different monitor. Okay, here we go, and I hope you can see it correctly. If not, just tell me in the chat if I should increase the font size or whatever. Okay, so before we start adding files to the project, let's just add some essential dependencies. So npm install, and let's install React DOM, and Gatsby. That's all we need to get started. And my internet is slow, by the way, so bear with me for a bit. And if the dashboard of OBS doesn't lie, I already have 4 viewers, so thanks to them, and I hope you enjoy. And if you find this too boring, feel free to leave it, but appreciate you guys being here. And while we wait, which we are waiting a little bit more than I wanted to, but you can follow me on Twitter. You have the handler, and you can follow me. Yeah, thanks for subscribing. Awesome. My first live subscriber, so this is like an historical moment for me. And while it installs the packages, we can start by adding our file. Like Gatsby expects a structure, so we will just create a source folder. Inside of it we'll create a pages folder That's where Gatsby will get the pages. And let's just create an index.js file. And here we go. And now let's start like all tutorials start. Let's create a switch. All right, everything is slow. Nothing to worry about. Okay, now I'm kind of stalled because WebStorm. Oh, okay, now it's fine. Fix this and we'll start with a hello world, which should be enough to get us started. And let's run the project. Now let me just shift this side, shift this side, and let's just localhost 8000. And we have an hello world. Okay, so not bad at all. At least I placed an hello world on the screen. Give me just 1 second so that I can use prettier on save so that you guys can see a more beautiful code. And let's just check if this works. Okay, not really. It should have worked. Okay, let me just check again. And everything seems fine. So, okay, it's not running prettier on save. I don't know why, but it doesn't really matter. So we have our hello world. I will just create a base, like a base layout. Just say 11 new components folder, and inside of it, let's add a layout.js. Okay. That looks good enough. Okay, here we just want to kind of center things up, and should be enough. So let's just create a stateless component again, and I will be using Flex. Sorry, I will be using theme UI to style everything. So let's just install that also, like npm install theme UI. And I know there's a plugin somewhere for this, for Gatsby. Not really sure even what it does, but let's just add it. Gatsby plugin theme UI. Okay. This way I don't have to do all the styling by hand. And I can sorry, and I can introduce like the basics of shadowing in Gatsby that we'll see in a few minutes. Okay, so now before I start, when you add a plugin to Gatsby, Gatsby expects you to have a file, which, if I can recall the name, it's just Gatsby config.js. I hope I got the name right, but it's not in here. It's on the root. Okay, it's already on the root. My bad. So model docs exports. So if you start with a boilerplate from Gatsby, you already have this file and all the structure that Gatsby expects. But since we're starting from scratch, we'll just make it bare bones for this, like Gatsby plugin theme UI. Okay, so this is enough. It's connected. We can run it again and go back to our layout file, and I can increase the letter a little bit so you can see a little bit better, and I'll do the same thing here. Okay, I hope this is better now. Just close here a little bit. Okay, so you see the color change. That's the defaults from Theme UI. And we will take care of that in a minute. But for now, let's just center our container. So import flex from theme UI. Okay. And this would be a lot nicer if prettier was enabled. That I have no idea why it's not enabled. But okay, let's just change this to flex. So theme UI allows styling through an SX prop. So let's just say flex direction and set it to column. Okay, so I have a typo. Just say align items, right, center, by content, center, and this should be enough. So basically everything will live inside our layout. So we'll just add children, and then here just show them. Okay, so we go back to our index. Okay, now I have to increase the letter for all of them. I didn't know about this one. Okay, so layout and import layout from components layout. And it's nicely centered. One more successful step. All right, so for our shopping list, the first thing that we need is a title. So since we are already using Theme UI, let's just create a title. So typo again. All right, heading, just call it shopping list. So sorry again, I have to quit smoking. So we have the title and okay, so it doesn't suggest, so import heading from Theme UI. Okay, it's already styled. Let's just add a little bit of margin, not so close to the top of the screen. And okay, that's enough. Now about the styling. Okay, so when you use a package from Gatsby, you can use something called shadowing, which is you can extend whatever you installed with your own default styling, extend components and so on, and that's what we'll do. So shadowing is It's a very basic pattern. Like, you need the name of your package, the name you have on node models. You need it to have it in your source, like the exact name for the folder. I know that in this case it's Gatsby plugin theme UI, no typos. So, and I know that inside this folder on the node models there's an index.js file. All right. So this file just exports an object with some defaults that we are now overriding. So I will just add a few colors. Like, I'm not, by no means I'm a designer, so I will just add a few basic colors to get us started. Okay, I have some nice colors here, but I don't know the color codes, so I will just use, this will probably not look pretty, but it will do the job. So we'll use red, green for the text. We can change this later if we have the time. For the text, let's just go with black. And for the background, some, I don't know, some kind of gray. I don't really know a gray, so I think this is a gray. Okay, this is a gray. That's good enough. Okay, so for our fonts, again, we're overriding the defaults just to try to make it look nicer, but not really sure if it will look nicer, but okay. So Helvetica, and let's just add a default, a fallback, maybe it's the proper word for this. And for the heading, let's make it, I don't know. I can let you guys choose. If you have another font that you like, tell me in the chat and I will change it. Okay. So these are the defaults for our application that we can use anywhere inside this object. And let's just override the root font. So let's just say that by default, the font family use will be the body, which is the one that we define here. And another typo. Okay, so font family body, and actually, let's just say that the font weight, not sure if this is needed here, but just to be sure. Okay, so root styles we already have, and this should actually, this should be enough. Oh, I know what's missing. I was a little bit confused. Okay, so let's just display this as an H1. Ooh. Okay. Okay, now it works. Like Theme UI has this nice thingy, which is you can use their components and place them on the DOM as standard HTML components, which allows you to have a better semantic HTML. Okay, so we'll be doing a shopping list, which is basically a to-do list. So for that we need a few components that we will create immediately. So we will need like an add item form, okay, which will be the form to add a new item to our list. Like, I don't know, you can shop for bananas, and this is where you get those bananas. Nice explanation. So we'll use a card. Now let's just import card from Theme UI. Okay, and inside this card we will have our form, and on submit of our form, let's just call handle submit. Let's just create here like handle submit equals function that for now we just log it. So log submitted. Okay, so we have a form, and again from Theme UI we will use the, it doesn't suggest, so we will use the text area from Theme UI, and we will style it with the SX prop again, and just say that with 100%. Okay, this needs to be a string, my bad. It will have 4 rows, a placeholder, something like, I don't know, add an item, a value which will be text, non-change event, we will make a function to update. We will use state from React, so, and we'll do it just in a second. So we'll just set these things right up here. React, let's use state. We'll have our text, our function to change the text, and we'll start with an empty string. And to be honest, oh, I'm missing a button to add this. Okay, so let's just say that if we have, if the user already typed something, we will also show a button, not a gamepad button. And as you can see, like add should be enough. Okay, so type equals submit, and let's style it a little bit again with the SX prop. So let's just say Actually, this would be easier if, okay, I will not style it at all right now. And I'm a little bit pissed because I don't have any auto-completion or anything in WebStorm right now. And this is kind of just perfect for a live stream. Let's just add this to index.file with to the home page. Okay, so I have this here. Let's just place it here. Okay, our first bug. It's by default. So return card. So honestly, everything looks correct. Export text area was not found in theme UI. Okay, so it's really strange. Bear with me for just a oh, damn, typo again. Okay, so now it should be good to go, hopefully. Okay, it's not the beautiful thing in the world, but it already works. It shows the button, so not so bad. Let's go back to our base settings of theme UI, and let's just add a couple of things. Okay, so our buttons. By default, theme UI uses the primary type of each component. Like if you don't say anything, the buttons will read their configuration and styling from the primary key. You can add as much keys as you want. So there's a lot of talk about this, but personally, I like for my buttons to have the pointer instead of just the arrow, but this is just a matter of choice, preference. So for the color of our button, we will use our background color, which is that gray thing. For the text, sorry, we'll use gray as our text color, and for the background of our color, we use our primary color. And yeah, let's see if this did anything. Not yet. Oh. Okay, I will fix it in a couple of minutes. Again, not sure what's happening here, but let me just finish this up and I will check what's happening. Okay, so on the overstate, and when the button is focused, let's just say that the background changes to the secondary color that we have, which is the green one, and the color will be the text, which is black. Okay, so now we have our button. Let's do the same thing for our cards. If you remember, we have a card, which is basically the wrapper of our text area. So we'll just like do the same thing. Yeah, I'll try to be quick. So let's just have the width of 550 pixels. this should be enough to have the split screen and you'll be able to see the whole list since we centered it with our layout component. And radio pixels. I could have just placed the 4, but yeah, the 4 would do the same thing. So kind of very simple box shadow. So 0, 0, 0, and then space here, and 25. And to finish this up, like a background color of white. White. Okay, now to understand why this isn't working, let me try to understand why this isn't working. So when it doesn't work, the first thing is to rebuild it, and sometimes it works. Okay, so someone is telling me that the sound is low. Oh, much nicer now. So a reload seemed to have done the trick. Okay, the colors aren't the best in the world, but okay, if you change your settings in the theme UI theme settings, then just reload the project and it works. I was expecting the live reload, but that didn't happen. And I will increase the sound a little bit, as someone is telling me on the chat that it's not loud enough, and now I hope it's better this way. Okay, so where were we? Actually, it already looks pretty good. Let's just move the button a little bit. And I guess I will not have any more buttons, so I can just say here like margin 25, and let me just, okay, yeah, margin top 25. Okay, this looks good. And now I will just do one last thing, which is, okay, let's place it here so you can see it a little bit better. And let me just drop this a little bit. I hope it's better this way, and I'll try to keep my voice, I'll try to speak louder, but as the time goes by I start speaking more quiet. I don't know why. And what do I want it to do? Okay, basically on the button I want to float it right. Okay, so we have our overstyle. The button looks awfully ugly, but it does the job. And if I get a console here, handle submit, button type submit. Okay, I was expecting to see my log here. Let me try to understand why I don't have my log here. Okay, type submit, that looks good. Function handle submit, and submit, handle submit. Submitted. Okay, now I'm pretty confused. this should work immediately. So maybe a typo or something. Honestly, this should work. And it's probably a stupid bug, but okay. Yeah, I don't know what's happening here. If you see a typo, you can... So I'm using Streamlabs to stream this tutorial. That was a question from the chat, so I'm using Streamlabs. But about this should work. I have no... Of course I have. Man, you can help me? Like, I know I'm doing stupid things, but... So, the form has to close after the button. It's obvious. Like, damn. Okay, just refresh. Okay, now this is also obvious. So so every time I'm hitting the button, it's submitting the form. So that also can't happen. And you see on the browser window, you see the question mark, like no queries. And now it shouldn't happen. Okay, now it's fine. Oof, this took a little bit longer than I was expecting. But okay. I can just close this tab and hopefully I will not even take a look at the shot. Yeah, someone else was like, Iago is saying on the chat that he was debugging the issue. Yeah, it happens. Okay, so let's get back here and I will just decrease this a little bit if it's too reduced, too small for you, just let me know. Okay, so we have a shopping list. We don't have a shopping list, but we already have a form to add an item to the shopping list. So we will, of course, need an item. And there's probably a better name for this, but I guess item will have to do for now. The same thing all over again. So we'll create an item component. And now one nice thing, we already added all the styling for the card, so we can probably just reuse it on the item, because the item will just be like a smaller card. Okay, import card. And to see this refresh as we go, I will just immediately import here the item. Then we will move it later, but for now, let's just import it. Okay, let's just see it here. It's easier this way to style it. Okay, so we will also use flex, and the card is the item will be probably our biggest element. Like, okay, let's style it a little bit. So justify content space between. So this will separate the text that we add from the buttons that we will also add, like, I don't know, mark the item list, mark the item as already shopped, like a to-do is done, and delete the item. So this is the space that we are creating. With this space between is the space between the text and the actions. And now I got distracted while I was talking. So this will just be center. And nothing changes, so let's just add a box now. And I will just import another thing that I already know I'll need, like the text. Okay, so we'll have a box. And we will have a text. Okay, and here we will show, let's just show something for now. Okay. Okay, now and if, give me just a second. Again, I would really like for Preacher to run on this, and I don't know why it's not running. It should really pick up defaults. Let me just try to do something. Bear with me for a second. So Preacher. Honestly, I think Preacher should pick up the defaults even without having this file. But I will just see if this works. If not, I just wasted like 3 minutes of your time, sorry. So let's just say it's 2. It's easier for you to see with a small tab width. And don't use semicolon. Single quote. Okay. Let's see if this works. Okay, no. I have no idea why this isn't working, but so I will just do it by hand. Wait. No, it doesn't work. Okay. So our item. Well, where are we? You already have the text, so let's just create our actions like the market is done and the delete action. Right. Again, this is a flex inside a flex. Just to have our actions, we will probably, and taking a little bit more than expected, so we will probably just do 2 actions, delete and mark it as done. Okay, so label, we'll have a checkbox. When you see me looking at the side, I'm just checking the shot. So I can already add this checkbox. Okay, so our checkbox needs an on change function. We will call it handle, I don't know, toggle completed, and we'll define the function in just a little bit. And checked, we can just set it to false. Yeah, we were expecting this, so completed. Eval equals. Okay. Toggle completed. Okay, so let me just check if this works. Okay, it works. We have our checkbox, and now let's just add one more, like let's add a button. Okay. Let's just say it. Unclick, handle, delete. The same thing here. Delete and delete. Okay, it doesn't look that good, but instead of this we can, everyone likes emojis, so here you go with an emoji, and now we'll have a few warnings because you need a bunch of stuff so that emojis are accessible. So we will just have the warnings till the end of this, because I will not kind of handle the accessibility issues of using emojis. Okay, so it might look a little bit better. Let me just see what I can do to make this a little bit better. Like these ones are aligned. Why isn't? I'm not sure why this isn't aligned. Align items, center, button, and label. Okay, I will probably align them later. Now let's just like create a different card, or no, the card can be the same. Let's just, I don't know, that button with the trash can is giving me some confusion. So let me just add like a button without the style, because that red color underneath the trash can, it's awful. So let's just say that the background of this special button is transparent, and this doesn't extend, so you need to tell it again that at least the cursor is a pointer. Okay, and now we can go to our button in here and say that the variant is no style. Oh, okay, a little bit better now. And we can also do one more thing, like we can say that our card has a margin top of, I don't know, let's check 25. Okay, this wasn't what I was expecting. Oh, not the button, damn it, the card. Okay, so the card has a margin top. Okay, it's a little bit nicer now, I guess. Okay, I see that there's 14 viewers, 14 brave viewers, and I know this isn't going the best way possible, but I think we have something already on the screen, and we'll soon have something more. And then we'll get to the interesting part of this. Like, I guess we just need one more thing. Like, we need a list of items. Makes sense. Like, we need an items list. Because right now we have a single item. Okay, so same old, stateless function. And for this I will be using not really sure. Okay, agreed. Seems like a nice one. Make use of a message also, and I'm speaking quiet again, so I will just raise my voice once more. And yeah, at some given time we will probably reach the point where we are loading items from our backend, so I will just immediately add the spinner, but without the typo. Okay, so this should be kind of quick to do. Like, we have a grid with just one column, like we want all of them on top of each other, and we need an items list. We will not do it immediately, so I will just go here and, like, I can say here item 1, 2, 3. Okay. And now go to text file, and instead of the item we'll use the items list. Okay, well, figured this out fast. Okay, maybe the margin top is too much, so let me just quick, like, say this is 15, and what can I, okay, and let me just go here to the form and say that this one has a margin bottom of, I don't know, 50. Okay, it looks good. It looks good now, so I will just even decrease it a little bit more. Okay, nice enough. Whew. We've got so far. Now let me just think about what shall we do next. Okay, we can just hook this up already, like here on our main page. It's where our items will live, so we'll just use state for now, and let's just add our items, a function to set the items, and this will default to null, and we'll handle the error that it's about to appear in a second. And since we are already planning on loading the data from an API, we'll just have a status, and we will have a set status that will just toggle between two values, but I think it's more readable this way, not to use a boolean. In this case, a boolean would do just fine, which is loading. All right, so and now and now our item list will receive all this stuff, I guess. So we will need the items on our item list. We will need the status. Okay, and nothing more. So we can just go to our item list and just do something very quick, like, and here we will receive the items and the status. So if the status equals loading, then, and let's just return a spinner. Okay. Okay, it's good enough. And we'll change that in a minute. So if we don't have items, or we have an empty array of items, let's just turn, okay, so typo again. So we only will return a message saying that no items to be displayed. And this seems good enough. Let's try this out. So let's go back to our main page, and now if we set the items to an empty array, and if we say it's not loading, it's loaded, we see the items, and we need one more thing, like, okay, now we can go through all the items and just for each item we will just return the item component, and we will pass it. We will just update it in a minute, but this will need to receive the item, and this needs a key which we will set to the item ._id, and I will explain this later on. Okay, let me just see how much time. Okay, this is taking too much time. By this point I was already expecting to have it finished, so I don't believe you are willing to bear with me for another hour, so let's just finish the front-end part, and I will probably have to do a second live stream connecting this to Fauna, but let's just do it for a little bit more. Like, now we will receive the item here, and where we place this, we will have an item dot text, and on the checked we will have an item dot completed. And we can try it now. We go here and say that we have an item, text to completed drew and an ID, and we will delete this ID in the future, but for now. Okay, this wasn't what I was expecting. Okay, so we have an array of objects. We go to the items list. We are receiving the items. If there's, okay, stupid me. Okay, nice, another bug. Okay, someone is telling me to go on. Andre, nice to see you there. Okay, I don't know. I can go on, but I have to take a break. And like on my first live stream, it's amazing, but I will have to go to the bathroom. Okay, so let me just fix this bug first. And why? Okay, so I'm receiving the items, I'm mapping the items, I'm passing the item to the item, and I'm receiving the item here, item.text, item.completed. So honestly, I don't know where the bug is coming from. So let me just log the items. Okay, so the items, it's an array with an object. So come on, guys, give me a hand here. Another stupid bug. Like most of the bugs are stupid things. Okay, so I will continue with this, and probably my family will come back to the living room. Let's see if I can really continue with this. But for now, and sorry about this, I have to go to the bathroom, so just give me 2 minutes. Thank you. Oh, wrong screen. Okay, so we're back now. So at this point, I guess most of our front-end work is done. I honestly don't see what we can do that we wouldn't be refactoring later to just connect it to the API. So I will just starting to set things up to connect this to the API. So where will we start? Okay, so we will be running this using Netlify, and for that we need to have on our package.json somewhere in here we need the scripts tag, because if you noticed we already have it. Okay, my bad. But we don't need this test script, we just need a build step for Netlify to be able to know how to build a project, and this will simply be Gatsby build. You see me running Gatsby develop, that's because I have installed it globally, but Netlify needs to know what commands to run. Okay, and this should be enough. Like, let me just now increase this a little bit and a little bit smaller. Okay, now just stop this and let's just test if we can connect this to Netlify. So I'm not sure if this is gonna work at the first time. I have the Netlify CLI. Okay, I wasn't expecting this. Okay. Honestly, I was expecting this to work out of the box, but let me try giving some settings to Netlify. Tumblr. Okay, Tumblr is the configuration file used by Netlify. Yeah, we already have yarn, JSON, and now we have Tumblr. Yeah. Okay, so let's just say that when we're building, and I will just place some stuff that we will use later. So we will have our serverless functions living inside a functions directory. You can call it whatever you want. This is where your backend will live inside this project, and the publish directory is the default one from Gatsby, which is public. Okay, and now for development, which will mainly be what we'll be building, the command to run on the development environment will be npm run develop, which just links to the script that we just created. Okay, the publish again will go to the public directory, which is the default publish directory from Gatsby. The port will be 88. This is where the Netlify server will run, and the target port is the one that Gatsby already runs on. Basically, Netlify will just connect those ports with a special port for the functions. And we wouldn't need this, but this is a little trick. Like by default, Netlify runs their functions in a default URL that we will just kind of redirect. This will mean that when we call /API/something, this will link to, and here you cannot make any mistakes. Like this will link to Netlify functions splat. Splat is the name that Netlify uses for each function or each file inside the functions folder. And since I'm not really handling errors at this stage, let's just set it to 200. Okay, and now let's just create here the folder, and it can be, I guess it can, I believe it can be empty for now. I guess we'll find out in a minute. Okay, so we'll have our functions folder. And now let's just try again to see if this was what was missing. Actually, it looks good now. Okay. Whoa. Now even I am surprised. Wasn't expecting this to work. Okay, just ignore the warnings, and let me just show you something. Where is it? Okay, this special port is where your serverless functions live. You will never call this port directly, but just for you to know, like this is where your backend stuff is running, but you will always go through here. Like this is, they tell you which is it, but you should never target this port directly. You can access the functions that live here through the main port that Netlify runs your project. And by the way, just for you to check, like if I change this to the default Gatsby port, it's still there, but I believe it doesn't have access to the serverless functions. Okay, so now just to be sure that our functions work, I will just create like a very simple function just to make sure that all this stuff works. So okay, let's just create a hello function. Okay, now remember yourselves that we're working on the backend, so this is in this case this is a node environment, so you cannot use the import keyword and so on. You have to use like the node syntax, require and so on. Okay, miss the arrow here, and let's just return an object that says that will give a 200 status code and a body of hello world, and this will be our hello world of serverless functions. And now how can I try this? Okay, so now if I hit API/hello, the name of the function not found. Okay, let's try. That log on the console is really strange. I'm just seeing what happens. Okay, again, a refresh solves everything. You're very quiet, but I see 11 viewers so far, and I'm going 1 hour and a half almost, so amazing how you guys stood up with this so far, and I will continue. but just let me know you're alive in the chat. It would be cool. Okay, so we have our first serverless function. Honestly, this is just it. And now we will just connect our to-do list. Let's go back to that. To a database as a service. In this case, we'll be using Fauna DB. So here it is, and I already have one account, so I will just log in. Okay, Fauna is not responsive. Maybe they need some developers, some front-end developers. Okay, so I already have a database, which I call to-dos, stupid name. But okay, so this is what we will be using, and let me just try to show you, like, they have a free tier, so you can play a lot with it. No expenses. So, okay, I will just use the words. The database built for serverless, featuring native GraphQL. So that's everything that we want. Like, we don't want to worry about the backend. Let's just leave that for someone else. And in this case, we're leaving the kind of maintenance of the backend and the scalability and so on to Netlify. And we'll be using this database as a service, which is already prepared for GraphQL queries, which it's the default way of doing it in Gatsby, which is our framework. A little bit confusing maybe, but that's the point. Okay, so let's start connecting this. To connect this, I need a few more packages, or wasn't this JavaScript if we wouldn't need more packages? Like, I will need npm. I will need Axios. Like, in the browser, I could use Fetch, which is the default, the native browser HTTP client per se, but I would still need Axios on the node environment, because Fetch doesn't work by default. It doesn't work on node natively, so I will just use Axios on both sides. It will be easier for me. I will also need the .env, which is, most of you probably already know this, but I will be needing the API key from Fauna, and I have to place it on my environment variables file. Okay, so let's start with that. Like, I will create a new file where I will store my environment variables. I will just have one, to be honest, and I will call it Fauna, I don't know, server secret. Actually, the name doesn't matter much. And this is like a long string that I will try not to show you, so I will just copy paste from another site. So give me just a second. Okay, now I already have my environment variable in place. It's just a string, by the way. It's a string that you can, like, when you create your new database, you have like a security tab here, and you will see I already have a server key. And in case you are creating a new one, you just hit new key, and it will set you, like, remember, it's a server key and blah blah blah, and you have the key, and that's it. Like, I'm not going to show you mine, but I think you can get the point. Now, since we're using GraphQL, and this is strange for me because I'm more used to the typical REST HTTP flow, but we will be using GraphQL to make all our queries. And sometimes I have a little difficulty speaking and typing at the same time, so bear with me. So I will just create an utils folder. Remember, again, this is our backend. And inside of it, I will just, okay. So I will create a utils folder, and inside of it, I will create a helper, because like GraphQL only has one endpoint, so all our requests to update, delete an item, and so on will use the same endpoint. So we don't need to have it everywhere. We can just make like an abstraction to send every request. It doesn't even matter if it's a delete, an update, a create, a get items. It doesn't matter because it's only one endpoint. But I think you understand better after I finish this function. So again, remember, you're working on the backend. So this is a node environment. You cannot use the default import keyword. You have to use the node way, like require Axios, right? And I have single quotes here, double quotes here, like I was expecting for Preacher to handle this. It's what I'm used to, and it's not doing that. So next time I will do a stream, I'll try to set up the editor first. And if someone has a tip for setting WebStorm to with some defaults, I also appreciate it. So this send query will be a function that receives the query that we want to do, and it will also optionally receive some variables. Variables will be when we want to create a new item or update an item, those values will be sent through the variables. Okay, so most of you have done this several times. So it's a request. So if anything goes wrong, which for Axios is outside the 200 zone, everything outside the 200 zone, if I'm not mistaken, will give an error. So if we have an error, it can just return an object with an error property. That's good enough, at least for now. And so here we will make our request. Like from that request, we will receive the data and the status of the request. And for anyone who has been using Axios, you know this is the default way that Axios gives you back the response from the requests. If you use another library, well, you just have to adapt it. Okay, so the URL will be, this one I will just copy, because it's always the same. Like if you do something with Fauna, you will have the same URL, like have it stored, because it's always the same. If you do like a completely different application, you will still have this same URL. Every method will be a post, like GraphQL admits for get and posts, but just to be simple, even our get all items for us will be a post. And this is just because it's simpler for us. Okay, another typo. how do you spell authorization? Okay. Nice. What's the typo? I don't know if it's a typo, to be honest. Okay, and this is the default authentication for Fauna, and that's why we installed the .env library, because right now you saw me adding that environment variable. So now we can just say process.env. Okay, you can still see, fuck it, WebStorm fixed this. You could still see my secret on the autocomplete of the key. Yeah, I don't know if WebStorm has an option to keep this hidden. Okay, so this will be the request settings itself, and now with the request we'll send our query and our variables that you see default to an empty object here. All right. And I forgot the main part. Okay, and after we have all of this, we will just return in an object with this format. Our response will be our data, and we will always also send the status of the request. And now it looks good enough. Okay, so now just one more file inside here. Now we need our schema, like GQL. Okay, so we need a schema. GraphQL works with schema, like it's typed. It's a typed system. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be possible to do like the autocomplete that they do, all the magic bindings without being typed. It would be impossible. So each one of our items will be very simple. The schema, of course, we will just have like a text property, which is a string, and it's required. The exclamation mark is the symbol for required in GraphQL. So the completed one would be of type Boolean. It's not required. It basically defaults to false in our case. And we will have a second type, which is our query. And we will have a query. By the way, like GraphQL has two main types. Like you have the query, which is what we'll use to get all items, for instance, and you have the mutation, which is like the updates, the deletes, the creates, all of that. So we have the query. In our case, we'll just use the all items query, and we are expecting an array in return, and it has to contain elements of type item. So it's mandatory that it's an array with elements of type item, but it can be an empty array. So this is what this is saying. Okay, now we have our GraphQL schema. Let's just start the magic. Okay, so let's add a new, I will call it function, but it's like an endpoint. And I will just call it get all items. Okay. And this will be very simple files. Like this is where we'll make the request. This is where we will define the request between our backend and Fauna to get all items. So require from Okay. Slash utils slash sim query. Okay. And now just define our query, get all items equals. Actually, I can do this another way. Maybe it's even simpler for you to understand. If I go to Fauna, okay, and now okay, if I go here and I have it saved here, but okay, I will do this from scratch. Like I could say, I want to query my database. I don't want this one, but okay. I want the get all. I want all items, and the autocomplete here helps a lot. Like I want all data from all items. And now from each one, I want the ID. I want the text, and I want the completed. Okay, and you can see everything here. Like, oh wait, this doesn't happen by miracle. Basically, to have this, you would have to you would have here a create schema, which is basically the schema that we just created. Okay, so I just updated with the same schema, and after you pushing your schema up here, the file that again, this file defines your database. So after you pushing this file, you will get, okay, you will get all these, like the docs and the schema. The schema doesn't really matter for now, but immediately GraphQL and Fauna give you a find item by ID and all items, a create, an update, and delete. Basically, out of the box, you have a full CRUD API. And if I just execute this query, I get an empty array, and it makes sense. Like, we will check this in a minute, but let's just get the empty array for now. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, we have, oh, we haven't finished this one, sorry. Okay, and to finish this one, basically we just need this, like this is what's being expected here. And this a little bit, okay. This is it, like, this is really what I like about Fauna and GraphQL and so on. It gives you kind of everything already done and it just works. Okay, so we'll just export a function here. Again, remember, we are now working on the backend, so node syntax, it's not so different from the regular front-end syntax, but anyway. So we'll have our response, our status. This is what we returned in the abstraction that we did previously in the error. So this will just await sim query. The query is get all items. There's no variables, so we don't need any variable. And if there's an error, then we will just return the editor doesn't help me. Okay, we will just return the status code that Fauna returned to our server, or to Netlify server, as you prefer. If you don't know, if we don't know what's the error, then let's just say it's a 500. And the body of the request will have an object with the items, which will be equals to response dot data dot all items. And by the way, all items, just for you to be aware, like this is what we're targeting. Items dot data. Okay, and this part is done, so let's just get our items and just start removing the static stuff that we have around. So we will just remove this one for now, and let's just set the items to null. And let me just close this a little bit. Okay, and now we will say that whenever the loading state changes, we want to get the data from our API. Like performance-wise, it's not the best option, but I don't know, it's easier for us to see things happening. So okay, and this will run each time the status changes. So we'll just have a function that first of all, like if our status it's different from loading, we will just return, because if the data is already loaded, then we don't even want to make the request. So we will need a function here, like this one's. Again, same old, so we'll make a request. So the result from our request will be the result of an Axios call to the function that we just created. So to API dot get all items, and this is the endpoint that we created that we will call our function that we defined here. So this is the mapping, like this name to this name, including the redirect that we configured here. Okay, I hope you can understand this. I'm not yet or the best teacher in the world. So we need to import Axios, and it doesn't help me, so let's just import it by hand. Okay, import Axios. Axios. Okay, this is more than enough. And once we get our items, we just need to set our items equals to the result dot data dot items. Yeah, I hope this is. We'll see in a minute if this works. So if there's an error, I won't do anything, like I will just console.log error and show the error. All right, and this should be kind of enough. And when I run this, like in here, so I will just get all And of course, we will ignore the promise. Okay. I'm missing something. I know I'm missing, of course. So if we already have our data, we just need to set the status to loaded. Okay. Okay, we have our items. We're passing our items on. Let's just check everything is connected. Items, item/id. Honestly, everything looks connected, so I will just run this again. No items? Okay, so far we weren't expecting to have any item. Let's just see if the request was made. Okay, I don't need this here. How can I disable this? Okay, it doesn't matter. So I just want to see our function here. So let me try again. Okay, it should. Oh, of course. Okay, okay, so we need to tell it that it starts loading. And now we have an error, but that's cool. At least we know it's working. Cannot read property items of undefined. Okay, where? Okay, so it blew up here. Okay, but maybe because it's not waiting. Let's try again. And what's the error now? Request failed with status code 500. Okay, have no idea of what's happening here. Let me. So I will need to debug this. And you guys are almost listening to me for 2 hours, so honestly, I will just try to put the get all working, and this week I will do another live stream having the whole crew. So let me just try to make this work. What's happening here? So 500, why? Okay, so get all items, this seems to be correct, so it's going here, so this is blowing. Okay, so get all items, this seems, I don't see any typo here, but let me just try to debug the response here. No usable value for a query. Did not find value which can be converted into Java long string. Okay, I made a mistake somewhere. So let's just head over here and okay, all items data. This seems equal to what we have. So we're sending the query to get all items. If there's an wait, Wait. Man, I'm tired. Okay, let me just check one thing. So of course it was undefined. Of course, because I don't have any error. Come on, guys. I don't have any error, but I didn't return the data back. So again, so this will be the status, and the body of this will be, again, actually I just mixed all up together. This is the body when everything goes correctly, and when not, we're just sending, sorry, the error to the front end. Let's see if this works now. Not yet. Not read property all items of undefined. If there's an error, okay, but no, I was feeling confident. Let's just play it again. If any one of the 9 viewers that are still watching, if you know the bug, just let me know so that we can like move out of here. Cannot read property all items of undefined. Why? That's our response. Okay, now this is a real. No usable value for a query. Did not find a value which can be converted into Java long string. Okay, so all items, the query seems fine, and it works, and it returns all items inside data. Oh, the bug must be here, I don't honestly. Okay, so here we're using Axios to send the query. It's fine. Error. This should be fine. I'll send the stupid me again. So okay. So this is what GraphQL expects, and I just made a mistake. So let's get back to it. Okay, what's the matter now? Oh, stupid me. Wait. This doesn't look good. So yeah, okay. So this is not here. Yeah, so we have our headers, and now okay, makes much more sense this way. Okay, just 2 more minutes. Let's just add an item, see if it works, and if it works, let's just go home. So this is a mutation. This is what we'll do in the next live stream. Hopefully I will be better prepared. So this is the variables, and just a quick explanation. So everything with the currency sign, it's a variable, much like jQuery in the old days. So we are just sending this variable here, like sardine, something we would buy, in here, and hopefully it will create the item. Okay, and now this is a mutation that we'll add next time. And now if I query this, I already have the data, and here we go. Okay, so it works. We're already connected to, we already have our, and I can show it. Okay, we already have our server function in here, which basically connects to our database as a service using GraphQL, and then returns the data to our frontend. So guys, thanks for watching. I would honestly wanted to finish this in 1 hour. It's taking me 2 hours to get this far, and I promise I will finish this next time, maybe in 1 hour, hopefully. And that was it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe or follow me on Twitter or YouTube or LinkedIn or whatever. Thank you very much for your support, Andre. Love to see you there, and I'll buy you a beer for this 2 hours stuff. And wrong screen again. And wrong again. Okay, I will end it now. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.